Now then, and welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at a Feed the Beast Horizon 3 mod pack spotlight based around the world generation. We're going to be looking at the Lost Cities customizations, all of these different options in the Lost Cities mod. From Ancient all the way through Realistic and into Wasteland. We're going to have a quick look around at each one in turn. And then I'm going to pick my top 5 and which one I'm going to be using for my Let's Play series. Each type of world generation is going to be looked at under the seed Nemsun. So we should have the same seed every time just to make sure. And it will be in creative mode so we can have a little fly around. Just so we know what to expect as a standard, I want to try default world first. Well, default world is pretty cool. I've had a look around, it's pretty cool. I like default world. It is very much a large city. It is a very large city. If we have a look on the journey map that's provided in Horizon 3, it's a large city. And technically, all of these areas are coral reef and ocean and gravel beach, and this is a volcanic island. I do like the way the volcanic island has just sort of sprouted up in the middle of a city, or rather, the city has sprouted up around the ocean and volcanic islands. It does make for an interesting look about the place. It does make for an interesting look. This volcanic area, you've even got the subways underneath the volcano. It's very much a Pompeii style place. Very good. Massive biomes aplenty volcanic island right in the middle of the city. And then it makes this lava flow out into the city as well. It is a large cityscape, and that is what we have for the standard default city. So the ancient world generation is very much as you would expect. It said exactly what it's supposed to be, an overgrown ruins of a city. You get the jungle and the urban jungle all mixed in together. There's also standard villager homes and bits and pieces like that. There's plenty of chests for loot, but it's all overgrown buildings. Even an emerald apple for villagers. Awesome. Lots of extra overgrowth all around, and most of the rooftops have been for some reason extracted or destroyed and left with these kind of weird looking structures on the rooftops. It's all pretty good. There's also parrot because of the jungle I've got in this particular seed. It's pretty good. And overall it does feel like you're in some kind of adventure map or some kind of Hunger Games mini game where it's a survival horror and you've got to somehow get around this place. I really like the style, but it is, again, just one great big city. If we take a look on the map, there's nothing but city. It is just one great big city in jungle biomes. The Atlantis version of the world gen, also with my seed, has a volcano in it. It's kind of an oddly formed volcano. I don't think the mod is quite right for working with biomes aplenty, even though that is one of the settings that it brings up. It does allow it to happen, but it doesn't quite reveal itself in its true potential. I'm sure it would look a lot better without the biomes aplenty trying to poke its way in. But that has meant that there's a large area here at the spawn of this seed that is set on top of the volcano area, whereas the rest of the world seems to be set inside, like the flood of the world has happened and everything is below water level. So we've got all the buildings and all the structures that we've been seeing in default, but they are below water. Which reminds me of a minigame server that I played on a little while back. Pretty cool. I like the idea, and I do like how the world generates. All of the water on all of the levels looks a little odd against some blocks of Minecraft Origin, but not all blocks. It looks okay on most blocks. And the overall challenge rating of this kind of setting would be quite immense, wouldn't it? Quite immense. Heading down into the buildings, trying to get below the water level would be quite a challenge. Of course, there are also still the spawners. I don't know how the spawners would function in the lower areas. I'm wondering really if there even has anything under the water level. Let's have a little look down here. Yeah, the whole place is flooded. The whole level after level is completely flooded in water, making it an extremely difficult, challenging map type in this world gen. Once more into the default world. No, not quite. Not quite default world. We've got the volcano again for this seed. It is slightly better placed in this particular version. This volcanic island looks like it fits a little bit better. Apart from this kind of Minecraft edge over here, it does have this kind of blending in slightly, which makes it a little bit better over here. But for the world generation itself, how does the city shape up? Pretty much the same as default for layout and size and shape and being covered by part of the volcano and all that kind of stuff. But the blocks, there's something about the blocks. This is the chisel setup, and it does mean that a lot of the building blocks are much better looking. Look at those. White concrete. We've got grey concrete, bricks and tiles and the like, and darker concrete. The concrete look about the place is so good, and it's all chisel blocks. So all the different things, like the paths are no longer stone slabs, they're now these chisel concrete, and we've still got some blocks and stuff there, but there's plenty of variety going on in the city now. The cityscape feels a lot more interesting and a bit more realistic thanks to the chisel blocks. I believe everything else should be exactly the same as default, really. It's just these blocks have changed. The building blocks themselves for the buildings look a little bit different, and in my mind, much nicer. If you wanted a default setup, then you may as well go for the chisel default if you're playing in the Horizon 3 pack, or you've got chisel in the mod pack with the Lost Cities mod. On to a no damage world generation, and as you would expect, there's no damage. There's still a little bit of green vines growing around the place, a little bit overgrown. Not sure if that's meant to be, and the occasional bit of world gen that possibly didn't get created by the Lost Cities mod thrown in for good measure. But the majority of it seems to be very much no damage. Yes, which is exactly what the setting is. So the layout is pretty much the same as default. I've got a volcano on this place, and everything else looks fairly straightforward and standard. Kind of boring, really, but that is because the world is not damaged. There's no great big craters and explosions and rooftops caved in and buildings shattered and all that. It's very much a nice, no damage setting. If you want that kind of thing. Won't be appearing in my top 5 though. May as well do default. As you would kind of expect, the next one, Only Cities, is literally only cities. It has replaced all other traces of biome types, except for the volcanic ones. It's all gone. Yeah, look, I like the big damaging area compared to the no damage areas. Yeah, look how amazing those damaged areas look for giving you something to do, something to walk into, some interesting places that don't all look the same. But in this section here, there's obviously the lava and the volcanic ash. Is it ash blocks from Biomes of Plenty that used to signify where the volcano was. But as you can see, Only Cities setting has changed it so that there are no volcanoes spawning and no great big biome types. So it's probably very much just this ash block is all that we see. Now I was wondering if we went lower down, would it still be the same? Oh man, there's a thermal foundation kicking around in there. Yep, good. And I'm out of there. Thank you. So yeah, there's plenty of things to explore and do in this setting. Just Only Cities, which is in and of itself kind of interesting, but could be so much better. Why would you pick Only Cities when you could have cities and volcanoes and forests and jungles and all that kind of stuff as well? I'm guessing that for certain people and certain mod packs, such as the District 42 mod pack, it is important to have Only Cities because that's exactly what they want in their mod pack. So, for the first time going through all of these different types of world gen, we see the volcano island that the Nemsun seed brings up in Biomes of Plenty. And this time, cities are rare. So there's no city all sprawling across it and climbing up it and all around it, chopping it up into little pieces. There's still a few problems with the Biomes of Plenty world gen around the other side there. And there's a few bits and pieces that you get in Minecraft floating islands and the like. But no city in close proximity to this volcano. However, on the other side, if we look here, you can see that the rare cities are spawning. And they don't seem to be so rare. Okay, so the place isn't completely covered in cities, but it's definitely not rare, is it? And they're not cities. If they're this close together, then they're small groupings of buildings. You can't really call it a city, and you can't really call it a town, and it's not very rare. There is a little bit more terrain for you to go between different settlements, different areas, but still not very much. There must be a config for changing that, and you do get some really awesome like bridge work happening and stuff across the ocean here, so it's still an interesting world gen. And it does add a few more options to playing the game in a different style. A little bit more exploration to go and find the next block of city and start exploring the buildings in that part of the city. Because obviously there's a border around it. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 buildings. 9 buildings in this city. And once you've explored them all, you would then wander off through the terrain to get to the next city and start looking over there. I like that it's mixed in with the different biomes, but again, it doesn't feel like it's a city, and it doesn't feel very rare. And that is, after all, what the setting's supposed to be. Rare cities. In the realistic world generation, we seem to be finding that this volcano is a little better formed, a little better grafted into the surroundings. No overhanging blocks, no weird cut-off points. It's looking a lot cleaner, a lot more realistic, which is presumably where it gets its name. We do still get all the lava from the volcanic island biome type as surface lakes, and we've still got disastrous explosions and tops of buildings missing and all that kind of interest and excitement. This is actually the setting I've been using for my episode 1 of my Let's Play series, so I'm quite pleased that this is currently still my favourite out of the lot. But we'll see how it does in the top 5 after we've finished exploring the last couple. One thing I have noticed though is the lack of chests to explore. Here we go, there's one in here. Let's have a look. It's got some decent stuff in, but nothing special. It's a little bit more realistic in the loot, I believe, as well. So slightly less OP loot from Cyclic in the early parts of things. Which all the other world gen seems to have quite a fair amount of chests available with really awesome loot. The realistic setting tends to have a little bit less. And it makes for a more interesting, challenging game style, I'm sure. Well, I'm not even really looking around at safe. I'm starting in the same spot I've been spawning in for most of these because of the seed being Nemsun in all cases. The place looks the same as default. There'll be a volcano around here somewhere, there's other stuff, but safe basically removes all the spawners and all the startup difficulties that those entail. Pretty boring, but for those of you that just want to play peaceful, then this is ideal. Just start in safe mode and have a cityscape with all of its disasters and damage and explosions and stuff happening without all the mob spawners and monsters coming to eat your face every 5 seconds and in every building. There's also no loot chests, I believe, in this version of safe. So there's no risk and no reward. Now, this one I've been looking forward to. This one, the tall buildings version, I've been looking forward to testing this one out. I've started once again in a similar location. I've been through this so many times now that I recognise the terrain slightly. And the default seed of Nemsun does give us this kind of layout. But the buildings, the tall building setting is incredible. Look at this. Now this feels much more like a real city. Proper skyscraper, really big city buildings. Much more interest. Lots of floors to explore. Lots of spawners, lots of chests, lots of things to worry about. Lots of things to... rooms to hide in. Lots of places that need torches. I'm just looking to see if there's more spawners or less spawners or more chests or less. The chest still on the ground floor over here has... Well, yes, it has quite a lot of the cool stuff in. So all the decent stuff still in here. Damage to the great big buildings. Look at that as well. Let's have a little look inside to see... Is there anything obvious loot-wise? No, there isn't. So it could still be fairly sparse on loot, but it does look awesome. Let's just go and have a quick look at the volcano region, if we can. Let's see how that works with the tall buildings. Tall buildings with the volcanic waste around them, yes, and the volcano itself. Can you spawn in? Doesn't look too bad. Doesn't look too bad. It's quite epic. It's quite big. A lot bigger than some other goes. And with the tall buildings built around it, it looks pretty cool like that as well. Yeah, I like this. The buildings are taller than the volcano. Can you credit that? Look at that. It's pretty epic. The volcano is the same size and shape as it normally is. It has the same cut-off points and all that kind of stuff as I've recognised from other testing. But the tall buildings really do look good, don't they? Yeah, really do. They really do. I like. Wow, the Wasteland setting. The Wasteland setting really does make the place feel like a wasteland. Just look at the map. The map is incredible. The place feels like a wasteland. My lava flowing from the volcano and lava pools just make it feel even more so a wasteland. And there's one thing I've noticed as I've just been flying around just checking the world generation, that there's no trees. There are no trees around. Normally where you see the trees planted, there are no trees. Where there would be water normally, in the ocean, there was no water in the ocean. All of these locations where there should be trees, no trees. No grass growing, but there are flowers. No tall grass or anything though to break for seeds, just no grass. The Wasteland setting does feel a little bit like an extra mode of survival. The only problem there, of course, is that there's plenty of grass still, even though lots of things have been turned to gravel. There's plenty of water still, because plenty of places still have water source blocks, even though they've dried out the riverbeds and all of that kind of stuff is gone. And even though they've had all of these craters of awesome and all of those kind of extra details which still look pretty epic, I believe on the map I saw that there was still, a village, a vanilla village over here. Was it just behind me this way? Vanilla village. And of course vanilla villages are made of wood, so if it wanted to prevent you from having wood, then all you need to do is find yourself a vanilla village. If it wanted to prevent you having any kind of grass in order to find crop seeds, well, we got the crop seeds for you. Water sources, yep, we got the water sources for you. Villagers, yep, they're still here. So it is a wasteland. It does look awesome like a wasteland. I have no idea what that is. It's a waste stone. Okay, that's cool. I'll look into that another time. It's a very wasted land, and it feels very awesome. And there's no trees. But there's another thing I spotted. No trees, but there are still bushes. Break enough bushes, you're probably going to get a sapling. There's still bushes growing all around the city, so you're probably going to get a sapling out of it somewhere down the line. And that could be awesome, but just the sheer greyness of it and the lack of lots and lots of water and everything like that, the wasteland setting is pretty epic. Now, just before I go through my top 5 out of all of these, I would like to point out that there is a note here. You can create your own profiles and many more configuration options in the Lost Cities config. Lots of things to play around with for mod pack creators, and if you want to create something for your own server and the like, this is where to go. Need to understand how to edit the config, but that's for a different video by a different YouTuber. My top 5 in reverse order. I would like to say that default and no damage and a few others, they're just boring. They're just default. It's good enough and it's nice, but why have default when you could have one of these top 5? In 5th place, Chisel. If it's available in your pack, why not use it? Chisel adds so much more to each of the buildings that it makes it even more interesting and less boring than default. Ancient is at number 4, where the vines and leaves and ruined buildings give that feel of adventure and exploration, and that hits my 4th spot. In 3rd place, Rare Cities. Once again, from an explorer point of view, having groups of buildings close together and lots of wilderness between those cities is fun and exciting to explore and adventure. But then still not very rare, let me just put it out. But that's where you can use a configuration to change it so that you have large cities very rarely spaced. Could be an interesting playthrough. But then, at the top 2, we're going with, drum roll please, number 2, Wasteland, with no water, bare land, no grass, no nothing, made for a very interesting visual and an interesting survival challenge, and that comes 2nd in my top 5. And in 1st place, very tall buildings. Why would you go with a cities mod if you didn't want to actually have cities? Having a city means having some epic big buildings, having a capital city. The tall buildings gives you that epic scale that you would expect from a cityscape survival. Well, I hope you enjoyed the look at the world gen in the Lost Cities mod in Horizons 3 mod pack. My clear winner, the Lost Cities tall buildings, just to make an epic looking city all around you. Could be great fun to play in, and we will see what I decide for my episode 2 of my Let's Play. Thank you very much for watching. Check the links in the description and all the kind of things and bits and pieces that go down there in the description, and I will see you another video another time. Till then, goodbye.